Song and Story World. Song and Story World. Hello and welcome to Song and Story World. For this first series of episodes, we're presenting some of Aesop's Fables. Aesop was a man who lived a long time ago and wrote stories which make people think as well as being fun. Have a listen and see what Aesop's stories might teach you. We bring you some We bring you some of Aesop's Fables. Aesop's Fables. Don't you think it's a bit odd having a donkey called Ferdinand? I mean, it's quite strange even having a donkey, unless you live on a farm. But Ferdinand? Perhaps Donald Donkey, Dimitri Donkey, David Donkey, Diggory Donkey, but not Ferdinand Donkey. It just doesn't sound right, does it? Anyway, that was his name, and he was owned by a gentle old man called Horace, and his son, a small boy called Duncan. Now that would be a better name for a donkey. Duncan Donkey. No, not Dunkin' Donuts. Duncan Donkey. Anyway, it was Ferdinand. The fair was in town. No dodgems or helter-skelter. No slides or rides. Just a few little games like hoopla and skittles. Have you ever played skittles? It's a bit like 10-pin bowling, but without the popcorn and fizzy drinks. Cheaper too. Horace decided to take Duncan to town and buy some turnips. He loved turnips. Duncan did too. They had mashed turnips for breakfast, turnip sandwiches for lunch, and turnip stew for dinner almost every day. I'm surprised they didn't look like turnips. Actually, I'm not sure what a turnip does look like. Do you? Anyway, because they wanted loads and loads of turnips, they decided to take Ferdinand along to carry all those scrummy vegetables home. Ferdinand didn't mind. He quite liked getting out of his field once in a while. He just hoped that there was no one at the fair wanting to play pin the tail on the donkey. He didn't want to. As they were strolling along, dreaming of turnips, they came upon 6 girls all dressed in black, which looked a bit weird. You would have thought at least some of them would have chosen bright colours. "For goodness sake, you poor little thing!" "How thoughtless of you," said the girls. "Those poor spindly legs," said another. Now, were they talking about Ferdinand's legs or Duncan's legs, or were they guessing about Horace's legs, which were hidden under his flappy grey trousers? Darling little creature! Now, were they talking about Ferdinand or Duncan? Certainly not about Horace, who was a bit gnarly and not at all darlingy. "Let the boy ride the donkey," said another girl. Horace thought that would be a good idea. If it had been anyone other than his son, of course, he could have charged money for a donkey ride like they do at the seaside. "You can ride Ferdinand then, Duncan." "Yips yapoo," said Duncan. Ferdinand didn't mind, and so they set off. One man and a little donkey called Ferdinand, with a boy called Duncan, riding high. As they were strolling along, dreaming of turnips, they came upon 4 old men wearing red coats. They looked very wise, with white beards and pom-pom hats, a bit like Santa Clauses, but it wasn't Christmas. Do you know, Duncan's best Christmas present last year had been a big bag of turnips. Turnips and sprouts. Nice. One of the men said, "What's all this?" Horace didn't know what this he was talking about. "An old man like you walking alongside the donkey? What's that all about?" Horace didn't know which that he was talking about. You should be there." Horace didn't know which there he was talking about. "On the donkey," said another old man. "You've got cronky old bones and you should be riding on the donkey." Well, I'm not too sure about the cronky old bones bit, but yes, I could have a ride. You don't mind, do you, Ferdinand? Ferdinand made a small braying sound, "ee-aw," which meant, "Do you really have to, Horace? Duncan is quite light, and I was enjoying myself strolling quietly along, thinking of all the goodies you might treat me to at the fair. Carrots, bread, straw, anything but turnips." Don't you think donkey language is amazing? All that with one little ee-aw. So, after Duncan jumped nimbly off the donkey, and after quite a kerfuffle, with the 4 old men and Duncan pushing, pulling and heaving Horace up onto Ferdinand, they thanked the men and set off again toward the fair. As they were strolling along, dreaming of turnips, they came upon a bunch of grapes. I meant a bunch of people. Mums and children on their way back from the fair, having played pin the tail on the donkey and buying some grapes, of course. "Mum, that donkey's tail is in the wrong place," shouted one scruffy little urchin. "Yeah, it doesn't look right," shouted another. Ferdinand made a small braying sound, "ee-aw," which sounded just like the one before to you and me, but it really meant, "Honestly, some people have no manners. Can't you control your kiddywinks, you mums? There's nothing wrong with my tail. It's at the right end." Just as well, otherwise he could have been sneezing all the time. "And it's a brilliant fly swatter." Donkey language is amazing. "Fancy making little kiddie walk when you're up there like Lord Fauntleroy," said one of the mums. Horace had no idea who Lord Fauntleroy was, so he didn't really know whether to be pleased or upset, although he thought perhaps he should be upset by the way she had said it. "It's a disgrace," said another, grabbing her grimy little child, who had wandered up from the riverbank and was now covered in slimy mud. "Well, I suppose Duncan might like to ride Ferdinand as well. Would you like that, Duncan?" "Thought you'd never ask," said Duncan. Ferdinand said, "ee-aw, ee-aw, 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 ee-aw," which means, "I can't believe it." Strange. So, Horace managed to pull Duncan up beside him on the donkey. Ferdinand was really cheesed off now. These two were heavier than turnips. Talking of turnips, as they were strolling along, dreaming of turnips, a very important, rich-looking man came alongside them. "I am a very important man and I'm rich-looking. I've got something very important to say." Horace was really afraid he was going to tell them that turnips had sold out at the fair. Ferdinand was really afraid that carrots had sold out at the fair, and Duncan was afraid that the man was going to tell him he should be in school. "It's just not on, people," he said. Oh no, the fair had moved on to the next town. "I belong to an organisation that cares for animals." "The YMCA?" said Duncan. "The RSPCA," said the important man. "This poor creature should not have to give you a ride. You should give it a ride. You should carry him." Ferdinand thought that seemed like a terrific, if somewhat unusual idea. The others would have to hold 2 legs each and look out for low bridges, but it could work. Good job he'd been on a diet recently, only 60 carrots a day, and 20 more for snacks. Well, the man is rich-looking and sounds important, so perhaps we should do what he says, thought Horace, not stopping to actually think how daft the idea was. So they huffed and they puffed and they blew... Oh, sorry, wrong story. They grabbed 2 legs each before realising that Ferdinand was the wrong way round and his tail was flapping in Horace's face. They took a deep breath, strained their muscles and slowly lifted Ferdinand into the air. "It's going to work, it's going to work," spluttered Horace. He's going! Yes, he was. Into the river. Ferdinand had been toppling and wavering gently, but he was too heavy for the boy and the old man, and he landed up in the river. Horace and Duncan landed in a heap. What sort of heap is not important. "Oops," said the rich and important man, and legged it hastily down the road. So there we are, or there they were. Ferdinand thought it was a good time to make a run for it. Which means, free at last. I'm off to find me some juicy carrots and no more turnips, ever. Horace and Duncan, a long walk home and not a turnip in the house. When will people ever learn? One man and a boy and a little donkey, Ferdinand the donkey, set off in the morning, going to the fair, they're going to the fair. Fine idle day, up on their way, met 6 girls all dressed in black. Fine idle day, what did they say? For shame the boy should ride upon the donkey's back. So the boy got on the donkey. One man and a boy and a little donkey, Ferdinand the donkey, set off in the morning, going to the fair, they're going to the fair. Fine idle day, up on their way, 4 old men in scarlet gowns. Fine idle day, what did they say? For shame the father's bones should really be sat down. So the dad got on the donkey. One man and a boy and a little donkey, Ferdinand the donkey, set off in the morning, going to the fair, they're going to the fair. Fine idle day, upon their way, mums and children stood and stared. Fine idle day, what did they say? For shame the both of you should surely be up there. So they both got on the donkey. One man and a boy and a little donkey, Ferdinand the donkey, set off in the morning, going to the fair, they're going to the fair. Fine idle day, upon their way, stood a man of trade and wealth. Fine idle day, what did he say? For shame the beast of burden needs a rest itself. So they lifted up the donkey, lifted high old Ferdinand, but they dropped him in the river. Up he got and off he ran. One man and a boy without a little donkey, Ferdinand the donkey, set off in the evening, sad and homeward bound. Look out for more Aesop songs and stories soon, and don't forget to tell your friends about this podcast. Thanks for listening. Song and story